AFRY is a worldwide consulting company providing leading solutions for generations to come. And we are really looking forward to the sustainable solutions. We see the coming trends in globally, and it's globalization and urbanization, digitalization, climate change, and sustainability. And that's the keys for this webinar actually today. AFRY has 17,000 employees working within industry, infrastructure, and energy. We have offices in 50 different countries, and we work very much together. We have transdisciplinary teams working to provide technical and sustainable solutions. So we combine technical solutions with sustainability, and that makes things really great. So it's our opportunity to work together between different disciplines, which makes our solutions the best. Today, let's get started with circular economy by looking at today's situation, which is linear economy. In the linear economy, we start, which is the most common today, when we provide products or services to people. We start with digging up raw materials like minerals from the ground. Of them, we produce materials from which we make components. And then we put together the components into a product, for example, a car or a mobile phone or something else. And then this product is provided or given to the user, perhaps through a service corporation. And then finally the user uses it, and when used, it's becoming waste. We put it into the bin. And that's the linear economy. We also, in the linear economy, invest a lot of resources. It can be material resources, but also energy through every step in this chain when we show that, when we make this possible. So in order to provide the need or the function or the product, the service to the user, we use a lot of efforts. And those investments, when we come to circular economy, the key thing is to keep the value which we have invested. So we still, when we produce our components, products or so, we have the same chain of activities. But when it comes to circular economy, we want to keep the value we have invested through those different steps. It can be energy, it can be, but mainly when we talk about circular economy, it's about the materials, the components, and so forth. And the longer we have passed in the chain, the more investments is done. So a full product is more valuable than the material it's based on. So when we go for circular economy, we can recycle the material. Then we keep at least the value in the material, in the raw material. But all the other investments like geometry or other functions of the product are lost. But still, we keep the value of the raw material. We can renovate or remanufacture. So we use a component. We take apart a product and then we can reuse or renovate or remanufacture. We go back to the components manufacturing. We can reuse the full product like secondhand or a company can take back the product and sell it again. And the service corporations can use like sharing or leasing, where we share the same products between many people, or you buy per, like you hire a car for a day or just for a short trip, or you lease a tool for your garden just for the days you need it. And then, of course, we can also reuse like those bike sharing opportunities, which are very common in different cities all around the world today. this was about circular economy, and the goal of circular economy is to, sorry, first this picture. This is the butterfly diagram provided by Ellen MacArthur Foundation. Circular economy is based on the cradle-to-cradle research made by Mr. McDonough, Braungart and Mr. McDonough together, and the Ellen MacArthur Foundation have used their research in order to provide this diagram, which is called the butterfly diagram, which is very commonly used by everyone talking about circular economy, and that's why we show it here. We also see that the main goal of circular economy is actually sustainability. So we have to keep in mind that circling things is not the goal, but sustainability is the goal. What is then circular? We think, I have been working very much with many companies on how to go from traditional business to circular businesses. And when I started, I thought that either a company must be not circular at all or 100% circular. But today I've learned that most companies or organizations have some bits and pieces where we really share things or recycle things or whatever we do in circular manners. And actually almost none are 100% circular. But what we really would suggest is that everyone try to go some steps on the ladder to become more and more circular. And we also think that it's important that everybody helps each other. So also enablers of circular economy helps that. So it's not only the circular businesses themselves which are in focus here. And now I'm very sorry about that, but I've forgotten to tell you that you can ask your questions. And the best way to do that is through the chat, and we will have time for questions at the end of the presentation. So now I pass over to Taina.
Thank you. And if it's not clear yet why or how we are going to achieve a circular economy, it's important to know that if we only switch all our fuels or energy to fossil-free, we'll only tackle 55% of all global emissions. So we really need to work with our products and how we consume our products as well. And that's where the circular economy comes in. And how do we reach it? Well, the 3 principles from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation is to design out waste and environmental pollution, keep products and materials in use, and regenerate natural systems. And when they say design out waste, that doesn't really mean that we'll ever get to a point where we never have any waste. It just means that the waste that comes out of the whole process should be designed. We should know where and what it is so that we can have a plan for it already in the design phase. And circular economy, it also brings a lot of value for companies that are becoming more circular. First of all, you get the costs and access to raw materials that you might have a difficulty to get in the future, and also make sure that the cost that you invest in the raw materials now are also yours in the future. You also, of course, get the sustainability aspect and securing the future from that perspective. But you also get a higher customer satisfaction, both because of the image, but also because you get more information about both your product and your service and have a better connection with the user, as you have to have a dialogue with them throughout the lifetime and not just at the point of purchase. And there are many different circular strategies, and we'll talk about some of them here. But do keep in mind that there are many paths to reach circularity, and it's rarely only one strategy that makes you circular, and it's rarely a one size fits all. You have to adapt them to your specific company and context. But it is important to, throughout the journey, secure the benefit of sustainability so that you also reach the higher goal of sustainability and not just keep things circling. One way to achieve circular economy is to adapt industrial symbiosis. And this can be done by sharing either a byproduct that comes in your industry to become a raw material in your neighboring industry, but it can also be by cascading a product to another value chain or another end customer. And the example here is from an assignment that I did this spring. It was sponsored by the Swedish Regional Agency for Regional and Economic Growth, in Swedish Tillväxtverket. And the company is called Grafren. And they had a filter that filters out metals from liquids by using graphene. And their filter was made for industrial purposes, but they saw that it could be used. It's not completely out on the market yet, but they see that in the future it can be used in household that maybe have take water from a well and have a little metal content. They can still get enough performance from the industrial filters in the next life, because these can be continuously cleaned. Another strategy is resource utilization, and it's kind of the most common one we see currently, especially when it comes to people trying to think of what to do with their waste and increase their recycling. It could also be used in lowering the weight, but this could counteract other strategies like recycling. Lean production is one way to use your resources better. Manufacturing other products made of spill from your processes or main production. And you can also make sure that you choose material after the minimum requirements and not over-dimensioning it, or use higher value materials than necessary. But this could also counteract other strategies. And the example here is also from a project sponsored by Tillväxtverket and a company called Artex that refurbishes train seats. And in this project, I'm coaching them to help them use their foam and textile again, so in other purposes, to try to minimize the waste that now is sent for energy recovery.
Another strategy is to prolonging the lifespan of a product. Here we see a camera which is dismantled, and the key for prolonging a lifespan is to keep things in use for a longer time. And it's about reselling the product to another customer, which perhaps doesn't have that need, or who can use it again. It's about repairing and providing spare parts. We see that the circular economy action plan on European level discuss that it should be mandatory to provide spare parts, for example, for products in order to ensure that they can be repaired. It can be about reusing the product as a whole, or remanufacturing, where you take back your product and fix it and sell it on the market again. We will provide some examples of that later on. And it can be performed by the owner or through a company. So it's many different paths to prolonging the lifespan. But keep in mind, keeping things in use for a long time is also circular business. So that's also important to remember. Digitalization. Digitalization, I saw that some of you have also asked about this, and we see that digitalization is an enabler for circular economy in many different ways, because it can, for example, eliminate the need of a physical product with the help of a digital service. But it can also be used for keeping product information, for example, the chemical content or so on, and keep track on where things are. And here we see the barcode, the QR code, and RFID tags at the bottom. But it can also be used, digitalization can be used to create smart flows for materials and products, because when we see the circular loops, we also, it's not those ways to, we really need to find smart ways to get things back again, or at least gather them to take care of the value in the materials and the components and the products. But keep in mind that digitalization is not only an enabler because it provides a lot of possibilities, it can also, it's also very important that we circulate the electronic devices. There are a lot of electronic things on almost every product now, and they have to be gathered and circulated as well.
And it's also important that the actual product is fit to a circular economy. And a few of the strategies you can use here is to design for recycling, to actually make sure that all materials can be detached from each other. Also designing for an appropriate lifespan and not designing this, in this picture, it's single-use forks that are so durable that they could be used way longer than one time. To simplify maintenance and repairs is important. And this can be done by making sure that you can update software, but also making sure that the product itself can withstand a lot of software updates and not be useless after a few. Making sure that the product can be upgraded and adapted to the user's needs also makes it stay longer in use, which is important. Making sure that you design for a connection with the user will help that the user actually taking care of the product, because what we care about, we tend to go the extra mile for. But it's also important that we don't care so much that we do not dispose of it at all or keep it in the loop, but keep it in our storage space when we don't need it anymore, because it really makes no use for society in our storage spaces. And another option is to design for standardization and compatibility to make sure both that within your product portfolio that components can be used in several products, but also preferably to other competitors' products, because that really makes it easier for the user to repair their products themselves. Another way is to adopt a product service system. It could be either done by dematerialization to make physical products become services, like for instance Spotify has done to take a CD and create a service instead. You can also pay for access to products or to use, like these city bicycles that we see in many cities. You can have platforms that simplify sharing peer-to-peer, like Airbnb, where instead of having hotels, they have people themselves rent out their rooms. It's it is really important here to investigate the benefits of sustainability and the implications on user behavior, because when we change behaviors, we can actually, or these kind of products can change the user's behavior so much that it counteracts circularity and sustainability. And the way to do a product service system is to use adopt circular business models. But there are also other circular business models, like classical long life products is one way to make money out of selling maintenance and repairs for products to maintain their longevity, to utilize a raw material that otherwise would have gone unused, like this bag for the Swedish alcohol monopoly. And they have used hotel sheets that were too broken to be used in hotels and sewed bags for their products. And another way is to get access to products like I described in product service system. And this is usually done during a limited period of time. And this example is forklifts that can be rented out to companies that need them for seasonal, like flower markets that really have a very seasonal high season.
When deciding which way to go and what to do, you really need to take a system perspective, like a bird looking from the top of the world down, and to take very much of different things into account. And when it comes, we talked about those different parts of a life cycle, from raw material through manufacturing and production and use and end of life. But we also see that this another dimension of holistic view is, for example, from businesses, they have to consider very many different things. And I here want to say that we are very lucky at AFRY because we have these different fields, so we can work together and find the best solutions for every occasion. But it can be about providing new business models to make sustainability and profitability, which is the goal of circular economy. You might need to find new value chains, new friends to join in your circles. Laws and regulations, they are now very much changed, but with the aim of providing circular possibilities. But we can see that old regulations doesn't fit circular economy so well yet. So we have to keep an eye on what's possible from regulation point of view. You might need to change the product design in order to make it possible to circulate, as Taina told you. It might be digital solutions. You might need to change your logistics in order to take back a lot of components or materials. And you might need to change the behavior of the user. All these things, and perhaps others as well, need to be considered when you go for a circular economy. And that's also one view we want to share with you. And as I said, we have all these experts within AFRY, and together we can provide these teams which help and find the solutions for every different challenge or task at hand. Now we want to go further on and share with you some examples or cases in more depth. And the first one is a coffee machine provided by a Swedish coffee machine company called Tre Temp, which is a small Swedish company. And they sell all over the world to individual cafes, but also to chains like Jew and the Juice and others. And they use Internet of Things or digital solutions to make the coffee machine is always connected to the internet. And therefore, the coffee machine company can provide like service or help improve the recipe for the coffee machine or improve the running of the machine. But it also makes it possible to know the condition of the machine and the components, so they can also improve service. So they can come and exchange a component which is not yet but nearly broken in time. So they can prolong the service life and optimize the maintenance. But they also have changed their business models. So they now sell not only a coffee machine, but also a cafe can pay per cup of coffee instead of per coffee machine. And so then they pass the machine to a cafe, and then they can take it back and separate so the Tretem still owns the machine all the time, and they get it back after use, and they can repair or use components or fix it and put it in another cafe in the next round. So that works very well, circular. And they have seen, Peter Larsson, the CEO of that company, he says that the investors are now really coming to them and saying, we want to invest in your company because we see that circular economy is the key for the future. And they also said that as a result of the corona situation, many cafes are very poor and they have problems in their budget, and they want to get started and they cannot afford buying a whole new coffee machine. Then they are even more positive to buy or pay per cup of coffee than before. So also circular economy can be an enabler for those companies having difficulties due to the corona situation. Another example is this mug or cup from Seco Tools. They don't provide cups. They provide cutting tools for turning machines where they are machining metal pieces. And those cutting tools, they are from very valuable metal sources like wolfram and cobalt. And they really want to get the cutting tools back in order to make new ones. And they tried to provide a circular system for that, to getting the material back, which it didn't work because people at the turning machines, they felt that it was so difficult. So then somebody understood that we produce this one, a simple mug, it's hole in the bottom because the liquid shall not stay there. And that made every operator at the machines putting all those cutting tools after use in this and send it back to Seco Tools. And that ended up with a solution where they get more of the cutting tools back, which means that also their competitors' cutting tools are put in here and they get even more valuable material back. Why do I show this to you? Well, I think that it's those simple solutions which can be the door opener or the keys for success. So it can be simple things as this, which becomes the enabler. So now you will get the opportunity to see also some other examples. Now we start with Finland. So Katri, please go ahead.
Thank you, Anna-Karin, and hello from Finland. Also, my name is Katri Luoma-aho, and I work as a section head of environmental services here in Finland. And I will have 3 case studies here, but first, just briefly, a bit different angle of circularity, circular economy in cities and regions. And as you may know, cities represent almost 2/3 of global energy demand and produce up to 50% of solid waste. and also are responsible for 70% of greenhouse gas emissions globally. So it's really important that cities thrive and enhance circular economy. And they can also advance the new business opportunities in the area, and also the social sustainability issue is really key, and you need to look at the social sustainability as well while going on with the circular economy as well. And then I do have just a moment. I requested the control. Yes. Here, yes. So I have 3 case studies. The first relating to this public sector, so roadmap to a circular economy in public sector. And then the second one, circularity in plant design and circular economy performance review. And I have to be really quick. I only have a few minutes. So if you want to learn more about this, you can ask me, and we can discuss this also later on. You can send me email and so on. And I hope these 3 really different cases show you how circular economy can be advanced in different sectors. The first one, cities and regions, and I think they can play really a significant role in advancing the circular economy. First of all, land use. It's really it gives the basis for circularity. And then also in initiating cooperation and building network ecosystem based on local strength, of course. And built environment, it's really important, and these are circular economy criteria can be included in the built environment, both in buildings and also in infrastructure. And public procurement, of course, in buildings, but otherwise also you can include some circular economy criteria in public procurement. There are good examples, and we only have to learn more and widen spread the word and spread the good examples of circular public procurement processes. And education, it's of course education gives you the basis for circular economy, because it's circular economy, as Anna-Karin and Taina have been talking about. It's not some specific theme. It should be included everything what we do. And also sharing economy models, cities can be examples, and also give possibilities for sharing economy opportunities in cities. And then last but not least, of course, recycling is really important, and municipal waste and sludges are something that cities can, of course, are obligated to take care of, and they should be recycled and utilized as the most valuable way as possible. And we have been working with some cities here in Finland. Currently with city of Oulu, we are helping the customer city of Oulu to prepare the roadmap towards circular economy. And a lot has been done and is currently being done in Oulu. So it's not like the work is just beginning. It's they are very in a good way, but this circular roadmap, it's also a strategy work where they want to kind of gather all the work that has been done in different sectors of the city's operations, and also, of course, set targets and concrete steps how to enhance circular economy even more in the area. And we have also worked with city of Rovaniemi and also city of Siilinjärvi here in Finland with the similar work. And then really different case, circularity in plant design. As we know, build really material user and also producer of carbon dioxide emissions. So circular solutions in built environment can really help us to to decrease the carbon emissions globally. And a lot has been done in public sector, but then we at AFRY think that industrial buildings are really they haven't been thought so much through circular lenses, and we want to change that. And we have a few cases where we have utilized circular economy criteria with kind of the ordinary design criteria. For example, this case where we prepared an implementation plan for the food industry production plant, and we designed the machines, equipment, and structures durable, easy to maintain, long-lasting. We used modular solutions, and we utilized carbon footprint as one selection criteria for materials. And in this case, and of course in similar cases where we need really kind of large variety of different expertise, we make really strong teams with certain expertise, and here also circular economy expertise was included in this team. And we are developing this model all the time and trying to be better all the time. And hopefully we can change a bit how industrial buildings are being designed and constructed. And last example from us, circular economy performance review for industrial site. As you might know, there is not one certain global kind of criteria at the moment. There are different kind of, you can utilize an ISO standard is being made and so on, but we are of course all the time being on the top what is happening in circular metrics, and we are currently utilizing this sort of kind of the indicators that also Ellen MacArthur Foundation utilizes or has developed, circularistics, and it includes sort of the enablers and outcomes and different kind of criteria within those concepts. So first we kind of check the circular concepts and business models if they are utilized, and circular concepts, and then maybe more ordinary material and water efficiency, and also energy efficiency. I think these two later are kind of the ordinary and status quo, what you already know do quite a lot, but this first one, circular concepts and circularity, it's not something that is really very often done at the moment, but we are also developing these circular metrics. But this was my case, so thank you. And like I said, you can ask more detailed presentations, and we can set up, for example, Teams meeting to go through these examples in more details. So then I think Saskia.
Hello. So I'm Saskia, and I'm part of the sustainability team in Germany, and I'm going to talk you today through the project, the Sofa for Life. So the Sofa for Life is a modular sofa so that you can exchange components instead of the whole sofa. So you can add modules, so you can make a 1-seater to a 2-seater to a 3-seater and then back to an armchair again. You can change the cushions, so when they start sagging or they're getting old, you can just exchange the cushions. You can exchange the covers when you want to have a new color, or you spill some wine on your sheets when you want to wash them. And you can transport the sofa really easily. It's flat pack, it fits in every car, so you can take it from one flat to the next flat. And it the sofa adapts to your sofa, to your current life situation. So instead of having to buy a whole new sofa and throw out a whole new sofa, you just buy new components. And that's cheaper for you and it reduces waste. So I'm going to talk you through how we arrived at this circular economy product. So we started off with the circular economy screening, which meant that we talked to every single stakeholder along the product life steps. So we talked to manufacturers and designers, to distributors, to second-hand shops, to recycling centers, and obviously to the user. And we asked the right questions. So we asked us why do you throw out sofas? What breaks first? Why can you not reuse components? Why can you not remanufacture components? Why do you not bring it to the second-hand shop? Why can you not repair it at a second-hand shop? Why can you not recycle it? And from that kind of stakeholder analysis, we had a very clear product design specifications, and we really knew what's the problem about current sofas. We then did a product analysis. So we took the sofas apart, current sofas, and really looked of what's the problem in the current sofas, and what we learned from the stakeholder analysis. We did a priority list for us. So the most important thing was the endurance. The second one was that you can repair sofas, then that you can reuse them, then that you can remanufacture components, and then in the end that you can easily disassemble the sofa into material components so that you then can enable recycling. So it was really important for us that we had that kind of hierarchy of that we know what is most important for us. With that, we went into the concept creation and evaluation. We were a team of designers and engineers, and we had a whole bunch of concepts, and we evaluated them to the specifications we defined in the first place. And when we decided on a concept, we went to the resource analysis. And obviously that was quite tricky because we wanted to have materials that are non-toxic, long-lasting, renewable, biodegradable, and recyclable, but there's barely any materials out there that can do all of this. So we had to decide for us what is most important, and that was kind of specific to each of the different components. So the wood obviously was the most important thing, that is long-lasting and renewable in the first place, and kind of a sustainable wood, where for the covers it actually was the most important thing, that you could wash them so that you had the longevity and the endurance of the covers in the first place. One other thing that was really interesting was that we tried to kind of talk to the companies, suppliers, and ask if they have any waste streams we potentially could use, or and then also in the same way look at our waste that we produce while manufacturing the sofa. So to try to manufacture without waste or with limited waste, we used nesting, which obviously is a thing that's also an economic benefit. But we also really try to have mostly automated or digital processes, so that we can change things really quickly, so that we don't have to create new tools and then create whole new prototypes, but that we can just change components, and that kind of reduces waste as well. Then the next thing was the circular economy logistics, which I thought was one of the most intriguing parts because it is so new. Because the whole concept of the Sofa for Life or circular economy business models is not that you just produce something that's recyclable in the end, but that you have something that kind of returns, that the product is being returned or components are being returned to the company. So how do you design something or design a logistical system where things are supposed to come back, that you have to test them, that you know what's the quality, what's the warranty, how do you store these products, then how do you sell them again? And that whole return infrastructure has to be profitable for you as well. So that was very tricky and very interesting. And I think the more we do this, the more better we will get. And we came to the point that we had to say, okay, we start off with the component that is the most valuable when it is being returned, which was the woolen covers. And then that we can and that the wooden components that the users just put them into the wood recycling in their local area. Throughout the whole project, we did life cycle assessments. We did a life cycle assessment of conventional sofas, and then throughout the design process, and then in the end, so that we could compare how much did we achieve and what's the kind of parts we need to improve on. So in 4 or 5 years, the sofa might be more sustainable because we know what we can kind of improve in a moment. the numbers we got of the kind of like carbon emissions were really good for the kind of promotional side and for the communication side as well. So we actually got a lot of feedback from people, and BBC and the Ellen MacArthur Foundation and the Zine, they were really interested in this product because the circular economy is such a hype in the moment, but there's so much theory out there and not as many practical examples. And the Sofa for Life is a very practical example that everybody understands because it is a sofa. So I was really great to get kind of that feedback that people want it or they are interested in the circular economy. And that's all for me. If you have any questions, then please give me an email or put it into the questions in the chat.
Thank you, Saskia. And now it's time for Claudio. Welcome, Claudio.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Claudio Ferro, responsible for project management in Switzerland. So I'm presenting some cases related to aquaculture projects. So going on, aquaculture is a market where the world already exploited the maximum level the natural resources. And during the last years, the aquaculture is already providing to us the fish to eat that the nature cannot provide us. But this is done mainly in a traditional way when you have the fish swimming into sea cages or lake cages. So they are confined, but inside the natural environment. And naturally, leaving these fish, they pollute the environment. Mainly is the sludge causing problems and troubles to the environment. Apart all the chemicals and antibiotics that the fish are eating. So recently, very recently, a new industry is growing up, which is the land-based aquaculture. So you keep out the fish from the natural environment and in a confined environment. And this is avoiding polluting the natural environment, but not only. First of all, you avoid a lot of travel of the final product. So instead of transporting salmon from Norway or Chile to US and China, you directly raise your fish where the market is. So this is a sort of digitalization for the circular economy. So you avoid transporting the material, but you get your product exactly where you need it. And most interesting is that these projects are a good example for recycling resources. Here are some practical examples of our experience from Switzerland, for example. This was a laks farm, Swiss laks farm. It was built up to 3 years ago. Now is working. Is entirely inserted in the landscape, but not only. You see that using the fresh water coming from the environment, the fish are in the tanks. They produce the sludge that are not polluting the environment, but instead they are used in a biogas plant, which is producing energy, which is reused by the systems of the farm in order to raise new fish. And so on, the cycle is continuous. Another example is, oh, sorry, I jumped out, is this always from Switzerland, where there was a river flowing through a mountain. When then some years ago a tunnel for the railways was built, there was some warm water coming out from the mountain and going into the river directly. So a fish farm project was thought in order to avoid that the energy stored in this warm water was lost. Instead, built a fish farm with the fish that needs warm water. So this is already a first use of available energy available from the environment. But then again, as the previous example, these fish are going to produce some sludge, which again in a biogas plant is producing electric energy reused to raise more fish. Another example is this one, also in Biberist, but this time we are going to put the fish farm in an existing building. What it means that you not only put a fish farm cycle to reuse the sludge, produce the fish in a biogas plant and produce energy, but also you do not need to build a new building, but you are reusing an existing building into a city which was destined to be demolished. Instead, we reuse it to make a new activity. So here we have a double circular economy cycle. And the last example I want to tell you about is this one, also in Switzerland, where again we have a multiple cycle of circular economy. Since this new fish farm, again, will reuse the sludge in a biogas plant placed really close to the farm to produce electric energy. But this biogas plant is already receiving the sludge from the cows. So in the end, this biogas plant will put the residual byproduct of the produce to fertilize the grass plant land, which is again eaten by the cows. So we'll produce more sludge and again into the biogas. So you see the double circle. But the most interesting thing is that both cycles in the end will produce typical products, cheese and fish, and going into the same restaurant. So we close the circle with the final product. And on the side, also the sludge can bring to other byproducts reused in other markets. So once again, if you have more questions about these projects, please contact me. And I leave you the word.
Oh, thank you very much, Claudia. It was very interesting to see this and to hear about these examples from different countries. Now, before we end up with the questions, we also want to tell you that we not only support companies and communities, but also the authorities when it comes to circular economy. And we have recently finalized a study in order to support the Swedish authorities in their way to work with developing a national circular economy action plan. And what we did was that we checked and found a lot of different initiatives from different countries, which we looked on in order to find smart ways for a government to move from a waste perspective to a holistic and material perspective, because we have seen that very many initiatives from authorities have been focusing on recycling. And so therefore they wanted to go to a more holistic view. And the results from our study was that looking into like 20 different initiatives, we saw that the holistic perspective is a sustainability perspective. So keep in mind, it's not about providing circular economy, it's about providing sustainability. And that collaboration between organizations or between different individuals and wherever is the key for success when it comes to circular economy. So collaboration, and today there are many legislations and stuff like as stops collaborations in many ways. So that is a key for authorities to improve circular economy, is to make collaboration easier. And of course, also a need for focusing on things of highest importance. Now we have tried to give you some examples of what we can do at AFRY, and we all and the globe can help each other to provide circular economy and to help, which will lead to sustainability. And I hope that you have learned a lot and that we now have some questions at the end. Jag försöker bläddra, men det funkar dåligt. So please, before we take the questions, the final slide is, the most important thing is to start. So don't try to take everything in one huge step, but start with the small things you can do and get started. So get started. And now we come to the final slide. And it's about questions. We do have a lot of questions from you in the chat. And there was one question. Du kan ställa det här. China takes care of the question. Thank you.
Yes, we'll start with a question for Claudio. There's a question, what rules and restrictions do you have to use the biogas rest as fertilizer? Is it pure agricultural waste, or how is it seen? And yeah, go ahead, Claudio.
Yes, of course, it depends on the country where you are placed. My experience is that you filtrate, let's say, the inputs to the biogas plant. So it is a fertilizer coming from agricultural waste, but you are not allowed to put into your biogas plant any sludge. So you have to treat some sludge in a way that you make a hygiene treatment to put this waste into the biogas and then use as a fertilizer. And then you must pay attention to the proportion that you use into the fertilization. I make you an example. In some biogas plant, for these examples, we are using sludge coming from cows, from restaurants, from fish farms, and the use of chocolate rest and coffee production. But the important thing is that you select properly the inputs to the biogas.
Thank you, Claudio. We also had a question if we'll share the recorded presentation, and we will. We'll do some kind of release of it. We'll get back to you on that. We also had a question from Australia. I think the person has left the meeting, but let's do it anyway. We had a question if we can elaborate about the impact of circular economy on various sectors. I mean, some sectors will have more appetite for circular economy than others. For instance, oil and gas, manufacturing, agriculture, waste, water sector, etc. Are there any sectors that have more positive impacts than others? So who feels like do you want to take that one, Anna-Karin?
It's a tricky one. I think that the key is, as we talked about, cooperation. And I think that most of these different sectors need to cooperate with each other. And but we have seen that the interest is increasing in almost every sector, and that they need to use different ways to come to a circular solution. So I think that is at least some kind of an answer. When it comes to oil and gas, these are often burnt and very, very difficult to collect again and reuse. But in the industry for them, like the machinery and so forth, are quite often circulated. So, well, I don't know whether that's a good enough answer, but shall we leave it like that?
I guess we can also add that there will be winners and losers in circular economy shift, and there is a need for more research on who will be the losers, because it's clear who will be the winners. I don't think we had any more questions, so please go ahead and contact us by email if something else shows up. And we did get one last question now to Saskia. Will the material of the sofa be sourced close to where it will be sold?
Hi there. Yeah, so we had a look at the materials and we did a kind of material analysis for the woods. And for like the wood, the kind of main thing was that it is strong, where the strongest woods, they all come from Amazonian jungles, where we were like, well, we can't do that. So the wood is going to be used from kind of Europe, from Eastern Europe, because that was the kind of closest wood source we could use that is still kind of doing the requirements we wanted. For the wool and the cushions, and that's all produced in Europe. So we did try, because the startup was in the UK, we did try to do like UK manufacturing and UK sourcing, but that was quite tricky to get the sustainability side of it in as well. So it is European. That was the closest we could get.
Yeah.
Thank you. And before we say goodbye, I also want to emphasize that you have seen many examples from AFRY staff coming from different countries, but we want to give a note that we work together. So whatever kind of offer you want, or whatever you are interested in, you can contact us and we will help and work together in order to, so we collaborate in order to find the best solutions for our clients. So don't think that the fish farms is only available in Switzerland and so forth. We can provide that help in whatever country you are, and we will help each other and do it in a proper way. And we really hope that you will come back to us with your questions. Thank you very much.